All right, what is up, guys? This is a new segment that I'm going to be doing just by myself. A little podcast I wanted to put together for you guys. I'm calling it Non-Negotiables. I'm like, what's my thing? Like, what is my thing? Non-negotiables, man. I tell you guys all the time. You gotta do your non-negotiables. So I'm gonna try and do this every week. And really just like pick a topic, deep dive into it, and try and help you guys understand a little more about bodybuilding. So, what I wanted to talk about today was genetics when it comes to bodybuilding, because I think a lot of people kind of have it confused what that means. So, there's genetics in terms of, your muscle insertions, the shape of certain muscles, the proportions of certain muscles that you're just born with. Some guys can get to the same body fat percentage, but one has an eight pack and one has a six pack. And that might not be something that you can change through training. So there's like the physical aesthetics. But I'm talking more about gear response genetics, which honestly, I hate to break it to you, is what most people mean when they say good genetics, is how they respond to gear. And, everyone on the internet these days loves to claim they're a hyper responder. They got big on TRT. That didn't happen. Even if you are like what I consider a hyper responder, you are not getting to a superhuman size on true TRT, because all that does is put you in a normal range. You're not going to become a monster off that. So let's talk about the two main types of genetics when it comes to steroids. You got hyper responders and you got hyper tolerators. You don't hear about these guys a lot. So let me break down what that means. So you have hyper responders. These are guys who typically respond well to gear and they don't need crazy high doses of it. I'm not talking like they're going to blow up off 250 test alone like they claim they did. That's not true. But like they can get away with cycles at around a gram total and get huge. That's what I would consider a hyper responder. Dudes who can take like 400 tests, 300 Masteron, and some Anavar and blow up. Um, and these guys do exist. I don't think they're super crazy common, but they're out there for sure. Um, but when it comes to being a hyper responder, they respond to gear like more aggressively than a normal person would. But with that also comes they tend to take on more side effects. They don't need a ton of gear to grow, but it's a little harder for them to push the envelope because these guys tend to actually get side effects from the gear a little more than the other type of person, which I'm going to talk about, which is a hyper tolerator. I kind of fall into this category. These are guys who don't necessarily respond super well to gear. They're not taking a 500 test cycle and within 6 months like looking like a bodybuilder. That's not what a hyper tolerator is. I don't fall into that category. A hyper tolerator doesn't necessarily blow up off small doses, but they can tolerate very high doses and don't seem to have as much of a problem with side effects. I'd say I fall into that category. I need generally, if I'm blasting, it's like a gram and a half to 2 grams of gear to be making the kind of progress I want to make. But at the same time, I don't run into a ton of side effects. Like blood pressure, but I got that under control. Almost immediately after starting gear, I noticed it was high, so I'm like, I'm just gonna take care of this now, never worry about it again. So, but like, I never run into estrogen side effects. I can run 1,000 tests and with some EQ, and I won't get any gyno, any sort of mood issues, that kind of stuff from estrogen. Same thing with, trying to think of other side effects. Like hair loss is another example. Honestly, like I'm gonna be real with you guys, my shit's definitely pushed back since I started gear. But like I still have a decent head of hair. It's a little thin right here, and the hairline's not quite as good. But like I'm not balding, and I've been on gear blasting for like almost 5 years now. So, like as I'm saying, I don't experience a ton of side effects, which is kind of nice. Now, what people seem to like almost get confused is they think like one's better than the other. Personally, I think both guys can get to the same size. It's going to take different things to get there. The hyper responder is going to take less gear and more side effect management, and the hyper tolerator is going to take more gear. Um, but I don't think one is better than the other. People demonize high doses, so they think, oh, it's better to be a hyper responder. But if like the guys have the same blood work on different doses, why does it fucking matter? I don't think it does at all. I don't. It's not that like 500 test is twice as toxic as 250 tests. That's not how it works. It depends on how your body genetically tolerates it. So I just wanted to like kind of break down that myth a little bit for you guys. And where do you fall? Honestly, most people kind of fall somewhere in the middle. Most people can't blast 3 grams of gear and get away scot free with side effects, and most people aren't going to blow up on under a gram. Most people are kind of in the middle. I don't think I'm like a true hyper tolerator. I can just run as much gear as I want and never run into sides. That's just not true. Most people fall like somewhere on that spectrum. I think the worst place you can be, I don't even have a name for these guys, is guys who need a lot of gear to grow but can't tolerate gear. Like, that is the worst place to be in. And I'm not saying it's hopeless for guys like that, because it's not. Um, it's just like you're gonna need to be spending a lot of money on ancillaries. Like you can't be scared of taking AIs or like all these other like medications to keep your side effects in check. Um, if you fall into that category, like it's not hopeless. It's gonna be harder, and that's okay. Bodybuilding's not fair. Bodybuilding was fair, I'd have an 8 pack, but I don't. It is what it is. I'm gonna be real. Most of you probably don't even know where your genetics fall, because I don't think most people have applied themselves long enough to know what the actual like limiting factors for them are. I could have said, "Oh, I just don't respond well to gear," or blah 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 blah, all this shit. Like I could have just said that for years, but like, dude, my diet wasn't in check for years. So who knows what I could have done on the cycles I was on back then. I mean, it's the past, so who cares? But you can't say like, "Oh, I just don't respond well to gear and I just get all these side effects," when you're eating Taco Bell as like the majority of your food. They're just like it's dumb. See what you can accomplish with gear on a actual like clean bodybuilding meal plan and with some balls to the wall training. And then you'd probably have a better idea of where you stand. But a lot of people like to make these like bold assumptions right off the bat. Like, and it kind of goes with everything in bodybuilding. People will be like, "Oh, I can't tolerate so and so compound." It's like, "Oh, well, that's probably because you started off running it at 1,000 mgs a week and never eased your way into it." Crazy. Who would have thought? Um, I don't tolerate Anadrol. It's probably because you took it when you were in the middle of an off season and your food was way too high to be taking Anadrol. It's just like at least try shit out before you make bold claims. Um, Complete change of topic, but I kind of wanted to segue into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is I guess my gym progress lately. Um, and not because I think mine is anything special. I think you guys can learn from it. Um, my username is the hard gainer trainer for a reason. It's kind of a joke, but at the same time, for so long, I struggled to gain weight. It was the hardest part of bodybuilding for me, was just putting on size. Um, and this off season, I've already put on 40 pounds in 6 months, and I'm still going. I can still get down on my meals. I'm not at a point of force feeding yet. I don't feel terrible. I'm gonna be real. Like heart rate's a little higher than I'd like it to be. I just feel kind of, a little fat. Like, I went on a hike the other day and I was like, I'm more winded than I should be. But that just comes with holding more weight than your body's used to. Like, my body is not used to being 245 pounds. But a lot of you guys, um, you try and chase being lean and then you like try to bulk, but you never commit to it. And it just like, it ends up as like kind of this cycle of just like looking more or less the same every year, every time you do a cycle, every time you do whatever. Um, so I wanted to share with you guys what I've actually been doing this bulk to, like, in my opinion, have an extremely successful off season. Um, Let me preface this with, like, I'm no genetic freak. I'm really not gifted when it comes to bodybuilding. I think I have very odd insertions for some muscles. Um, I didn't really play sports growing up, so I didn't like have a grasp on basic movement patterns. I had to learn all this shit in the gym, trial by fire. So, with that being said, let's start with the setup for this off season. So, I know most of you guys aren't competitive bodybuilders. That's okay. When I say off season or prep, you can replace that with cut and bulk. This works for lifestyle too. So when I started this bulk, I was fresh off stage from my first bodybuilding competition. Um, I I did not look good on stage. I'm gonna be real there. I fucked up my prep the last couple weeks. I just kind of caved to the food. It was honestly, frankly, embarrassing looking back, but I was kind of essentially self-coached at the time and didn't exactly know what I was doing. But um, hey, that's why there's next year. We're gonna fucking kill it. But we came straight off stage, so I was still pretty fucking lean. I had fucking spider web veins all over my body. That is where you want to be when you start a bulk, guys. You don't want to be skinny fat. You don't want to be above 12% tops body fat. Honestly, I'd say 10% or under. You guys want to just like be in a good spot to push food. Um, this is gonna be key. Like, if you start off in a bad spot to push food, like too high body fat, you're going to be working so much harder for less results. Hear that again. You're going to be working harder for less results. That's because when you start off a cut highly or a bulk highly insulin sensitive, say fresh off stage or just lean because you cut down, your body is going to utilize that food so much better and you're going to gain fucking tissue like nothing. Like, you won't even have to try. I mean, dude, my first, I don't know, 15 pounds I put on this off season, I was eating like around 3,000 calories, which is nothing for me. Like, nothing. I'm 6'1", so that's like a cutting diet for me. But I was so insulin sensitive after that show, I was putting on weight like nothing. So that just, like, it set me up to be able to grow. Um, and I try and ram this point like through your guys' head. I'm sure you're tired of me beating a fucking dead horse on this, but hey, how many elite physiques do you see walking around? Not a ton. So not a lot of people are listening. So I'm gonna say it again. So, setting up, being lean, being insulin sensitive. That was a big part of it. Second part is kind of like my actual diet reversing out of the cut. Um, a lot of people, they come out of a cut, and their first response is to go into 1,000 calorie surplus right off the bat. Yeah, you're gonna put on a lot of size in two, or honestly a lot of water in like 2 weeks, but you're gonna hit a wall really fast if you do stuff like that. Like, when my calories go up, it's generally by about 200. That's pretty standard for me. So my calories were only going up, in the beginning at least, when my weight stalled, and they were only going up by about 200 or so. So this allowed, like, me to continue growing off not crazy high food. This also kept me insulin sensitive. Like, I was essentially, for 3 months after my show, starving an hour after each meal because my body was just processing things right. If you're hungry, when you're bulking, that's a good thing. At least in the beginning. Obviously your off season, like true off season, you're gonna be stuffed. But you want to be hungry. That means your body's still insulin sensitive. What else did I do to really set this up for success? Oh well, I didn't. Um, just keep staying on drugs after my cut. I think I stayed on cycle for about a month, and then went into a 3 month health phase. So I actually like allowed my body to take a break. And people seem to think like you can't make any progress in a health phase. Now, there's there's situations where a health phase might not be ideal for making progress, but dude, I was so insulin sensitive. My body didn't care that I was on 300 tests. It's like, yeah, you're still growing, your strength's still going up. So I set myself up to have like a healthy body for when I actually pushed. Um, so that's, I guess, kind of the setup for my off season that has led to me being able to grow better than I ever have before. Um, I guess the next big thing was probably the diet. Um, I honestly, before rebounding out of my show, I'd never really followed a meal plan. I was kind of like most of you guys. I'd track macros, and I try and hit like certain calorie and protein every day. I wasn't too strict about my carbs and fats. I really didn't eat like as clean as I should have, especially for being on gear. Like I threw away so many cycles. Let's be honest there. Uh, But I actually, immediately after the show, got on a meal plan, and it's been the best decision of my life. It's so great just knowing exactly what you're gonna eat. You don't have to do any math. You don't have to add up any macros. You just fucking execute. You cook the food, you weigh the food, you eat the food, and that's all you have to worry about. And it has been a game changer. I think I've missed not counting like free meals that my coach gives me where I get to like swap out an on-plan meal once a week for, whatever I want. So not counting those, I think I've missed one meal this whole off season. That's unheard of for me. I mean, I used to be a chronic meal skipper. And are there times when I'm really full and I don't want to eat? Yeah, I'm not generally force feeding, but maybe once a week there's a meal that I'm like, fuck, I just do not want to eat this. But we eat it. Doesn't matter. If it's like I really don't want to fucking eat it, I'll pop a fucking edible and wait for those munchies to hit. And then instead of eating, you know, bullshit Pop Tarts or chips or whatever, just eat my ground beef and rice and tastes way better than normal. And if that's not an option, then I'm just fucking force feeding it. I'm eating it, taking a sip of water. I'm not even really chewing it. I'm just like washing it down. It works. It is what it is. Um, so the meal plan has been pretty insane. Let me actually tell you guys exactly what I'm eating right now. I feel like a lot of people like to keep their plans all secretive and stuff. No, I'll tell you guys exactly what my stack is right now. So meal one, 8 ounces of egg whites, 5 eggs, 80 grams oats, 100 grams of fruit, 35 grams of peanut butter. Meal two, 8 ounces of chicken breast, 300 grams of rice, 100 grams of veggies. Meal three, 8 ounces of fatty beef, 275 grams rice, 100 grams veggies. Meal four, 8 ounces of chicken, 250 grams of rice, 25 grams coconut oil, 100 grams veggies. Meal five, 8 ounces of fatty beef, 100 grams of veggies, 15 grams of almond or cashews. Intra workout, 15 grams EAAs, 10 grams glutamine, 10 grams creatine, 25 grams highly branched cyclic dextrin. Post workout meal, 50 grams whey, 170 grams of cream of rice, and 100 grams of fruit. So everything on here is cooked weight except for the oats and cream of rice and egg whites. So guys, that's a lot of food. Honestly, I don't even have the macros. My coach just tells me, "Hey, eat this," and I fucking eat it. I don't care what the macros are. Doesn't fucking matter. All I have to do is eat it. Um, but I've been eating a lot of food, and I eat a lot of food every day. People like to claim these days, like, oh, bulking is vaulted. Bulking is vaulted. Yeah, if I was a natural, I probably wouldn't be doing like aggressive food pushes like this because I don't have the hormonal um, backup to actually accommodate that food. But I do. So I'm going to push it. If you're natural and you want to like lean bulk, go for it. But most people who follow me are not natural. So sorry. My advice is going to be mostly catered to dudes on gear. So I ate a lot of food. Um, let me tell you guys my steroid cycle too. So I'm on 1,000 milligrams of testosterone, 800 milligrams of equipoise, 25 milligrams of proviron every day, 25 milligrams of winstrol every day, and that's it for the anabolics. So around 2 grams a week. Um, and then we got what else? What else? What else? Um, we have 10 IU's of growth hormone every day. 30 IU's of Lantus, which is long-acting insulin every day. And 1 milligram of retatrutide every week. So, some pretty good firepower. It was a little different when we started. There was some tren enanthate in there, but we took it out because it was just kind of throwing my resting heart rate too high, messing with my sleep. So that's a some good advice to you guys. Don't be married to a compound. Like I'm gonna grow on what I'm on. It doesn't matter if there's tren in there or not. So if something is like causing side effects and fucking up your cycle, take it out, dude. You don't need it. With the exception of like a test base. um, so yeah, I mean that's my cycle. That's my firepower right there. Um, and you'll notice it's pretty simple. Normally I don't run orals in the off season, but I can tolerate the 25 mgs of Winstrol, and it helps with nutrient partitioning, just putting the food where it should go rather than into like fat cells. Um, but other than that, it's pretty standard for what I normally do. Um, you know, high test, high secondary injectable, growth hormone. I think this is the highest I've ever ran it. And this is the first time I've ran insulin actually. And insulin's kind of misunderstood. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on it. So, insulin use by itself, like, isn't necessarily what gets you big. Like, I think people think they're going to add insulin and just blow up. It's like, no, insulin essentially helps you when your carbs are so high, your body can't um, cover them without like kind of starting to be pre-diabetic. So that's why the insulin's in there. 30 IU's Atlantis. It's not a lot, but it's enough to because my fasted blood sugar before I started it and was on high GH was like 103, which is not good. And the Atlantis brought it down to around 80 to 85 in the morning. So solid spot to be in an off season. And I've just been putting on size like crazy, dude. I mean, I've put on, I don't know, I think 10 pounds in the past 2 months, and my body composition has not been changing. If anything, it's been improving. Um, so I mean, it's crazy what the hormones can do for you. Um, oh, the retatrutide, I should probably explain that. So I don't have that in there for appetite suppression, obviously, because I'm eating a good amount. I'm not experiencing any appetite suppression from it. What it's in there for is insulin sensitivity and just like keeping body composition in a solid spot so I don't get too fat. But yeah, guys, I mean that's really what's helped me out so much is just like having a good hormonal base, a solid diet. I mean, you heard my food. There's nothing dirty on there. I take one cheat meal a week. And honestly, in my opinion, that's all you should be taking in an off season. People think, oh, I'm not cutting. I can have 2 to 3 cheat meals a week. No, that's how you get fucking fat. Don't do it. It's dumb. Your goals are not your goals are not the results of someone who eats 3 cheat meals a week. Come on, guys, let's be real. So, and then I guess training too. My training's been essentially what it always is: crazy fucking intensity to failure on everything. I keep my compound lifts in there like I always have. Bench, squat. Actually, I'm not squatting right now. Been having some knee issues, but bench, deadlift. Even leg day. Even though I can't really squat, I've been doing like crazy leg press, rest, pause sets. A lot of hack squats. Actually hitting failure on those. Like we don't stop till we bottom out. You're not going to die from bottoming out on a hack squat. Most leg presses have safeties. You're not going to die from bottoming out. So essentially, that's been everything that's made me grow. It's nothing flashy. It's just drugs, diet, and training, and being consistent with all of them. Oh, I guess cardio too. I've been doing 5 days of cardio in the off season. I know more than most people do, but that's gonna keep you hungry. It's gonna keep your blood work looking better. It's gonna keep you from feeling like a fat pig. So do it. It's that simple. Just fucking do your cardio, guys. I know No one likes it. I don't fucking like doing cardio, but I like what cardio does for me. So fucking do it. Um, but yeah, I mean, really, that's been it. I've gone from 205 pounds to 245 pounds. Still have abs, still have veins. Um, and we're pushing to 260. That's what coach says, so that's what we're doing. And the plan is to get up there, maintain there, to build some density at that size, so I don't just diet off all my muscle. Do a health phase, and then do a prep. Compete sometime next year, probably winter. That's about it for what I've done this off season to really kill it. It's really just been a big mindset shift. Like just all this stuff became non-negotiable. The thought of skipping a meal sickens me. I was so tired and like had a meal left that I wasn't gonna be able to eat for another 2 hours last night. So I went to bed, set an alarm for 2 hours later, got up and ate in the middle of the night and went back to bed. Simple shit, guys. That's it. Um, so I wanted to answer some viewer questions that people dropped for me. Um, so let's get into them. I'm gonna be doing Q&As for this on my stories, so stay tapped in, and I can answer your guys' questions in a little longer format than stories. So, first question. First growth cycle, 400 test, 350 EQ, 200 NPP. Thoughts? Um, okay. For a first growth cycle, I think that that is a pretty good stack. You got a test base in there. You got EQ at 350. Depending on how you aromatize, that could be a little too high of a EQ to test ratio, but that's person dependent. So the EQ is going to keep estrogen in check and provide growth. Then you got 200 NPP, nandrolone phenylpropionate. For you guys who don't know, that's like essentially the short ester of nandrolone, commonly known. I mean, most people know DECA as nandrolone, but DECA is an ester of nandrolone. So he asked for my thoughts on that. I think it's enough firepower for a first growth cycle, 100%. That's a little under, yeah, it's like a tiny bit under a gram of gear a week, which is around where we want to be. And especially a first growth cycle. I know this guy, I've talked to him. He hasn't done anything over TRT before. So I think this is a good place to start. Um, it's I definitely want to have Cabra on hand for that NPP. You never know how prolactin sides are going to affect you until you've like taken a 19 nor like nandrolone or tren. So I'd make sure to have that on hand. But that's 100% going to be enough firepower, and that's a cycle you can run for a long time, which is honestly one of the biggest keys to this shit. Like honestly, I'd probably run this cycle depending on blood work, 5 to 6 months. You can get some solid growth out of that. And it's a growth cycle, so it's in a growing phase. Um, Really the key to this, stay on those drugs, stay on them as long as you can and mitigate side effects, and get your ass on a fucking meal plan. And just eat your food, eat clean food, and progressively increase your food when it's needed. When your weight stalls out, not when your weight's still going up. Because you only have so much food you can push before you lose insulin sensitivity, feel like shit, and just like feel like a fat fucking lard. So yeah, end of the day, I think this is a great growth cycle. Just make sure you are just locked the fuck in on everything else, and you should see some pretty good results out of this. Like this is a great first cycle. Speaking of that, I'll tell you guys my first cycle ever. So I mean, like I did a couple months of like 200 to 300 tests and like a little Anavar in there. I don't even count those. It's TRT plus. My first real cycle was 200 test, 200 mast, and 200 tren. And wow, I was unfamiliar with the Trend's firepower game. That was pretty cool. I made some good gains on that. That was the first time I ever looked at my physique and was like, damn, I look good. Um, but irrelevant. I don't think that was the smartest first cycle ever, but it sure as fuck was fun. My fiance hated me. This was my first time dealing with Tren. And anyone knows, like the first time you take Tren, you don't realize the mental sides are the Tren and not your own thoughts. And you're like, damn, this is really how I feel. You end up just being a dickhead to everyone. Okay, next question. How to prevent gear from aging you and ruining your youthful good looks? Now that is a good question. So obviously some of that is going to be genetics dependent. See, I still have a pretty decent head of hair on me. Some looks maxers are probably going to come in my comment section and be like, sub five hair cell coping. Um, but genetically, I don't really lose a ton of hair from gear. Some people bald like a motherfucker. Um, and then a lot of the aging, like your face looking way older and stuff. A lot of that comes from, you got half like, having elevated DHT, so all of a sudden you got facial hair and like fucking growing like facial muscle and like your temples and like under your jaw and shit. Um, so there's that, but then there's also just like the fact that you're abusing anabolics. Um, you know, Newsflash, besides testosterone, none of those compounds are made naturally in your body. So they do cause some stress to your body, and some of it can manifest as your skin just looking kind of like aged and less youthful. Um, so how do we prevent it? Okay, well, there's a couple ways. So if we're talking hair, there's really only one good way to do it, in my opinion. If you're super sensitive to hair loss, I don't believe in fucking finasteride or dutasteride. The fucking just like risk of permanent side effects from that outweighs any gain, in my opinion. I think it's fucking stupid. So you got some other compounds, like minoxidil and RU, whatever numbers come after it. I've actually been using that lately, seeing if I can get a little regrowth in the temples. And like it looks like shit right now, just because I barely started it. But some's actually starting to grow back in right here. It just needs to get thicker so I don't look worse. But um, one thing that I've experimented with in the past is running like very minimal tests. Like I think I was running 100 a week, and then running high deca. Um, you have almost no DHT conversion, and you just got a little bit of test in there, enough for a little bit of estrogen conversion, and it keeps your hair looking pretty good. I think that was the best my hair and skin have looked in years. Um, Definitely worked very well for that specific purpose. Um, I wouldn't say it's like the best cycle ever. It's probably not something I'd run again. It made me feel kind of lazy from the lack of DHT, and Deca does some weird stuff to your brain. So that's a good way to prevent the hair sides. Um, with the skin aging and stuff like that, best way to like deal with that is to come off. Um, Whenever I do a cruise and I'm not pushing food to where my face gets like puffy, dude, I immediately age down like 5 years. All of a sudden, my skin looks good again. Like my jawline comes in sharp, and I'm like, damn. Like it's almost like I'm a new person. So honestly, like a lot of the facial aging side effects of steroids just come from the fact that you're abusing drugs. Like end of the day, no matter how you put it, we're abusing drugs. That's what bodybuilding is. You're abusing drugs to amplify your diet and training to build a naturally unachievable physique. So, um, when you're abusing drugs, your body doesn't tend to like that. So yeah, your skin looks a little fucking off. Like these forehead wrinkles go away when I come off cycle. Um, so that's a big part of it. And there's things you can do to try and stay looking good. Obviously, being lean is one of them. My face looks like shit right now. It's because I'm 6 months into an off season. When I'm lean, I'm fucking handsome, guys. Believe it or not, I'm not an ugly fuck. When I cut down, I look handsome as fuck. Um, so obviously staying lean. There's supplementation that you can do, like GHKCU. Stuff's awesome for the skin. I definitely noticed something when I was taking it. Um, some melanotan. Like people tend to look a little younger when they're like tanner and not ghostly white like I am right now. So I think melanotan's a good option for that. And then honestly, just having a good diet and like trying to take care of yourself will definitely help offset that stuff. I looked way, 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 way more aged and unhealthy when I was eating like shit when I was on cycle. Who would have thought? Oh my God, it's almost like it's the same thing for naturals, You see fucking hot Cheeto bitches skins, and then you see the skin of someone who eats healthy. They're two different fucking skins. Um, so yeah, that's my advice on that. Next question. What do you recommend for back width? Okay, when we're talking about width, it's gonna be mainly pull down, pull up type movements. Um, that's yeah, essentially what's gonna grow it. You whether that's like underhand pull downs, overhand pull downs, pull ups, assisted pull ups. That stuff is gonna help grow some width in your back. From what I've noticed in most people, and this is not towards the guy who asked the question, this is just kind of in general. I see a lot more people lacking back density than they do width, like back thickness. Because a lot of people's back day is like almost too many fucking pull down variations and not enough row deadlift kind of variations. Because obviously one's harder than the other. It's a lot harder to pick up a 150-pound dumbbell and row it than to, sit under a lat pull down machine and do some pull downs. Duh. One's a lot more taxing on the body. Um, so my back days are, and honestly, I gotta switch it up and start adding in some more width stuff because my back has gotten really fucking thick. And I think it needs to get a bit wider now. But my back days have always been mainly or rowing exercises. So right now, my back day, I do deadlift, row variation, um, row variation, pull down variation, something for traps. So I think I'm going to swap a row for another pull down variation or pull ups. I'll probably do assisted pull ups or something. Too fat for regular pull ups right now. Um, but that is one thing you just see all the time now. Like, when's the last time you saw like a young guy with like good erectors? No, no one fucking deadlifts anymore, so no one has erectors. You don't see a lot of people with like fucking thick 3D turtle shell backs. Not a lot of people want to do barbell rows or dumbbell rows anymore. It's all chest supported this and pull down that. But to answer the question, yeah, pull downs, pull ups. Honestly, if you can get good at weighted pull ups, dude, you'll have a wide fucking back. It's one of the best ways to do it. So yeah, that's all the questions people submitted for today. I'm trying to think if I have any other rants for you guys, but I think I'm out of it today. So I think that's going to be it for the first episode. I'm gonna try and get more questions, try to make them a little longer, maybe plan a little better. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to go down a new path with you guys. Just give you guys some unfiltered thoughts where I don't have a time limit on what I'm saying. So this will be fun. Make sure to check out. I'm gonna link a video in the description for you guys. I'm gonna link my sponsors. Go check those out. Code Justin and then a number for most of them. I'll link it. Um, and yeah, and if you guys hear the stuff I'm talking about, you like what I have to say, um, and you want me to help you just like apply these principles to your life, specifically tailored for you, DM me on Instagram if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, and we can see if like you're a good fit for my program. We can go from there. Peace out, guys.